I should open this video by saying I have enjoyed all the games I will be talking about today. I'm a huge fan of the farming sim genre in general, and ultimately decided to make this video when I found myself pondering which of these games I actually liked the most. Stardew Valley really needs no introduction. It's the absolute peak of its genre in both quality and popularity, and is still ongoing with updates a decade after release. It is a game that I've often thought to be untouchable in terms of my favorite farming sim. More recently, however, I found myself absolutely enthralled by a game still in early access called Fields of Mysteria. This game is by no means niche at this point, but compared to Stardew, it is a fair bit smaller. Fields of Mysteria seems to have quite a lot going for it, with a gameplay loop quite similar to Stardew's, with a number of quality of life changes such as stores that don't close, an ability to traverse the world much easier, magic spells that could speed up more monotonous tasks such as watering crops or restoring HP, and a progression system that is much more direct and simple, and less so of the googling how the fuck do I get a red cabbage, although there is still some of that. It also has a much more diverse cast of characters, with much more skin tones represented in the game, along with pronoun options, and a canonically non-binary dragon you can romance. Meanwhile, Stardew is still rocking with the gender binary in current year, and only has one non-white romanceable character. While all of these things are really good in Fields of Mysteria, I can't help but feel like the characters, despite being more diverse, with much cooler and bolder aesthetics, that they are also much less interesting once you actually talk to them and experience their heart events. As a comparison, I want to talk about two characters that I think share similarities in their respective games. Shane in Stardew, and March in Fields of Mysteria. Both start out as cold and antisocial, and have some very real mental issues to deal with. March lost his parents at a very young age, and he and his brother, Ulrich, have mostly had to fend for themselves. Shane, on the other hand, works at Joja Mart. Lives an ultimately very unfulfilling life, stocking shelves to barely make ends meet, and drowns his sorrows in alcohol. Ultimately, these two characters have a lot of potential for very heavy but heart-filled interactions with that player, and I think Shane's heart events, specifically, more than deliver on that promise. In Shane's 4-star heart event, he, in a moment of mental distress and panic, lets it slip that he plans to end his life. He lets this plan slip in front of his goddaughter, Jazz. This then builds into a 6-star heart event, where he meets Shane, lying down in a pile of empty beer cans at the edge of a cliff. Shane's plan is coming to fruition. He wants to end it all. But ultimately, part of what prevents him from ending it was that he genuinely cares about Jazz, the player, and Marnie, and genuinely feels that they care about him. The absolute shame and embarrassment he felt when Jas overheard his plans was only felt because he cared about her and didn't want to hurt her. These heart events are some of my favorite in the game. They're short, yet touching, and sometimes very emotional looks into a character. On the other hand, I would like to talk about a heart event that I should find more touching, but to me it somewhat misses the mark. March's heart events all pretty much revolve around March's stubbornness to accept help, and the player is trying to warm up March to the idea of receiving help. In March's 8-star heart event, he is tasked with designing a golden dragon crest in a rush order. This is a very important order for March, but as usual, he insists on doing it alone. And in this 10-minute long cutscene, a little over 3 minutes in, the player character is finally in the scene. At this point, the Shane event would already be over. March then makes a stupid decision to go into a dangerous part of the mine himself, gets stuck, the player gets stuck with him while trying to find him, and they end up having to work together to stay alive and hopefully get out. This scene presents you with a few dialogue options, none of which say anything different except for the heart at the end that allows you to date March now, which is standard for any single character's 8 heart event. This scene for me ends up being way too long, and even in the moments where March is opening up to the player about losing his parents or his stubbornness, it does not come close to pulling the heartstrings the same way Shane's hard events did for me. Shane's struggles also feel a lot more real to the player, as ultimately the entity that is responsible for his misery is also an entity that the player character is also working to overcome. Jojo Mart's corrosive effect on Stardew Valley. As most of you hopefully realize, Jojo Mart is an allegory for Walmart's destruction of small town economies and communities in the rural United States. The ultimate goal of the game is to overcome the stranglehold of corporate interests within Stardew Valley. This is accomplished by the player's efforts to rebuild the community center in the town, and by extension, rebuild the community that is Stardew Valley. The valley becomes no longer a way for Jojo to extort wealth, but a community held together by the shared community center built by the player. And of course, the magical Junimos. In this community, there are characters that are heavily flawed, even straight up unlikable. Clint. Also, people have flaws. Mayor Lewis is egotistical, and Shane is, well, you can't fix Shane. The fact that Stardew forces the character into uncomfortable situations, making uncomfortable decisions with sometimes uncomfortable people, is something that I quite admire about the game. This is something that I think Fields of Mysteria very much lacks. Everything in town seems to be too chill, too cozy, too fake. Decisions options for the player character often comes down to a correct answer or a punny answer. I have a lot more thoughts and things that I wanted to compare about these games, but I think my ultimate thoughts come down to this. Fields of Mysteria is a great game, and will hopefully keep building upon its already great foundation. But my main criticism of the game in comparison to Stardew is that the comfort and convenience of the game feels to come at the cost of atmosphere and storytelling. I was also going to try and talk about Friends of Mineral Town this video, but I'm really hoping to keep this video somewhat brief, so maybe a future video. I could go on and tell you all the small ways Stardew does something better than Fields of Mysteria, or Fields of Mysteria does something better than Stardew, but I don't need to, for example, tell you Stardew's OST is better. You've already been bopping to it while watching this video. Anyways, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, please subscribe, and if you have thoughts and think I'm a dumb, biased idiot, please tell me in the comments below. Bye bye.